Al Jazeera Podcasts.
Today, we go inside Gaza City as Israel's takeover begins.
People are been moving from one area to another in Gaza, not into safety or safe area. They're moving simply from dangerous area into less dangerous areas.
What does this next phase of Israel's genocide mean for the people of Gaza? I'm Malika Bilal, and this is The Take.
My name is Hani Mahmoud. I am the Al Jazeera English correspondent reporting from Gaza on the ground. I'm from GazaCity, from a Shuja'iyya neighborhood. Ever since I was pushed into displacement, I've never seen my neighborhood again. I have so much longing to see what happened to our house, to my personal library, to the books that I collected over the past years, to all the memories that I left behind. So I'm kind of hoping and praying any ceasefire coming up soon. The first thing I'm doing, I'm going to check if there is anything left of the house, if any of the books is left, if any of the memories are still there.
Well, Hani, welcome to The Take. I just want to start with expressing and extending my heartfelt appreciation and thanks to you from our entire team for doing everything that you had to do to make this interview possible out of Gaza City, where you are. You're in a building that is half burned out. We're using an internet connection that's shaky at best, and the clock is inching towards nightfall when you need to be inside. Can you tell me about where you are and what it took to show up today?
Well, we are still reporting from Gaza City, and just a little bit of clarity to our viewers here. People are been moving from one area to another in Gaza, not into safety or safe area. They're moving simply from dangerous area into less dangerous area. So it doesn't mean we're safe, or we are away from the continuous bombardment here. It's just a little bit less compared to the areas that have been officially marked as red areas by the Israeli military. We do have a constant daily struggle when it comes to power supply and internet connection. It's not a secret that a report that takes half an hour, 45 minutes, maximum an hour of work, it takes us up to a half a day or a day just to get it done, because we're constantly dealing with power outage. Or internet gets disconnected, and it stays disconnected for hours or for the whole day sometimes, and that explains why we are only able to show only the tip of the iceberg of what's going on here. And I started to think this has been quite intentional, deliberate. It's done in a way to suppress more of the voices on the ground, just kill their abilities to show the world what's really going on. Because the moment the world see exactly what's happening, because it's unfolding around the clock, 24 hours of unfolding events, it will be a real shock for everyone. But it's still very grateful for the couple hours of internet of power supply that we get from power generators, and we're able to supply and transmit these pictures to the world, because deep in our heart we believe that the world deserves to know what's going on.
Well, the pictures that are being transmitted to the world these days are of the first stages of Israel's takeover of Gaza City. You've not only been reporting on each phase of this genocide as it unfolds, you have been living it. About a month ago, Israel's security cabinet approved a plan to take control of Gaza City, where you are. A day before that approval, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu had said the military planned to seize control of all of Gaza. We know when Israel's takeover announcement happened, it led to condemnation from around the world, including from Hamas leaders who said the decision confirms that Israel does not care about its captives. So we know the initial stages of this takeover have begun. What do they actually look like? What have you been seeing?
Well, let's start by the ongoing, misleading, contradictory, vague narrative of evacuation orders. These are not evacuation orders. These are enforced displacement orders. They're happening under the heavy artillery, the continuous bombardment. People are literally fleeing their homes under rains of mortar shells, of airstrikes, drone strikes, quadcopters that are better known as sky predators everywhere. We've seen families running with their elderly, with their children, with people who have family members who suffer from medical complications. They drag them with them into the streets, fleeing the ongoing bombardment. The second important element to highlight: people are ordered to move to areas that are supposed to be safe. These are not safe areas. Just in the past, happening in the past couple hours, a statement by the spokesperson of the military, sharply ordering people that they need to avoid to Al-Mawasi because in order to avoid being bombed, they have to be there. Guess what? A group of children were queuing in front of a water tank, waiting to fill their gallon and go back to their families in displacement sites in Al-Mawasi. Were bombed. 10 people reported killed right away. 7 of them happened to be children right at the spot. That's an area that's supposed to be designated a safe area. People, the moment they moved to these areas, they were bombed, they were maimed, and they were killed. You have streets that are littered with makeshift tents, with exhausted families, with people who are disoriented. They don't know where to go. It's heartbreaking enough for them to leave their homes. Even when they went back to them back in January during the first phase of the ceasefire, they found them severely damaged or rubble. They set up their tents next to them because they're so attached to these homes. But here's an interesting part. We're seeing more people are doing reverse displacement. They refuse to leave their areas. They refuse to leave their neighborhoods. They try to set up their makeshift tents or plastic sheets near their neighborhoods, near their homes, because they're tired of being herded around from one place to another, which has been largely more of a death sentence for them and their family members.
So Israel calls these places safe zones, but clearly they are anything but, and people recognize that. They know that.
Absolutely. There is no safe zone in a war zone, let alone it's a genocide. And from day one, clearly it was a genocide. We reported about it. We're already seeing the clear signs of genocidal acts on the ground. But the world, the internationally pressed, world media platform, they did not take our reports seriously. They accused us of fabricating the things on the ground, not telling the truth. And just in the past couple of days, we're seeing more voices confirming what we were able to report about and document 22 months ago. They did not believe what we were talking about until the past few days. And we were right from day one. I mean, October 7th, we reported about this all day long. But from that point, it has been 22 months of Israel genocidal acts on the ground.
Just on Monday, the world's top scholars on genocide, the International Association of Genocide Scholars, finally agreed officially Israel is committing genocide. As you say, you and other reporters in Gaza have been reporting that very fact for 22 months now. So do you think this might help those who have not gotten there? Is there any good that could come out of this final official declaration?
First of all, there's no justification for their silence. If you're a media worker, if you're a journalist, you should have picked up your pen, your camera from day one and start documenting what's happening. It doesn't matter where you are, where you stand, because what's unfolding in front of us, it's quite horrific, and it deserves to be reported about in all of its details. Here, what we're doing, we report most of the time, it's raw material. I mean, we don't have time to change anything. We don't have time to make it more appealing or drive sympathy from the world. If we see a child torn apart, if a flesh is picked up from the ground, that's what the world is seeing from us on the ground. The problem with internationally press, their silence gave legitimacy to the Israeli actions on the ground. It gave them the promotion that they need to commit all these atrocities for the past 22 months. And none of them had been serious to question the credibility or to question the source of information. For example, hospitals got bombed multiple times. we see in the same exact statement used by the Israeli military that hospital became headquarters for operatives or for militants, and providing zero substantial evidence to support this claim. Same thing when it comes to schools that turn into shelters, when it came to journalists who were targeted one after one, including their families, for civilians in the streets or inside their tents. And I think them realizing now that there is a genocide, it's too little too late. You didn't have to wait until 62,000 people, including more than half of them children and women, to say, well, yeah, it was a genocide. That's being like, okay, I was okay with the genocide, but once it started making noise and making a trend, I want to try to have a piece of it.
Well, honey, to add insult to injury, as all of this is happening, we know that there are these backroom discussions taking place in capitals all around the world about Gaza's future, and they don't take into account the Palestinian people. So just this week, the Washington Post leaked a draft of a plan from the Trump administration about turning Gaza into the Riviera of the Middle East, and it includes sending the residents of Gaza to third countries. What do you and others think when you hear plans like this?
We're very frustrated, very angry. I mean, I'm taking it not just with a grain of salt, with a shovel of salt, because there's so many wrong things about this plan. I mean, what's the point of creating a Riviera and hotels and really advanced streets and use of high tech while skeletons are buried underneath these roads, the massive graves and everything else? What's the point of doing this without addressing the serious questions, the education, the healthcare, the reconstruction of humanity itself across the Gaza after a month of traumatization? So the dangerous part of this plan, apart from the fact that it does not address the real cause of these problems, aka occupation, the military occupation of Palestine, it presents ethnic cleansing under the guise of reconstruction. And this reconstruction includes already a big part of it has already taken place. The destruction of the whole entire strip, neighborhoods as old as 1,000 years, as Zaytun, as Shuja'iyya, mosques as old as 1,200 years, all the churches, the oldest churches in the world exist in Gaza City, have all been severely damaged or destroyed. I mean, uprooting people from here, that's not reconstruction. That's a real ethnic cleansing. And it's done in a very racist way. And that's why I think it's driving much of the fury among Palestinians. It's taken their identity away. It destroys their culture, its social fabrics. But at the same time, it's a threatening because the aim is to uproot all of them from their own land. And that's the serious, dangerous part of it. No, this is not what the Palestinian people need.
We'll have more with Hani after the break.
Within days of starting his second term, President Donald Trump issued pardons to more than 1,500 people who'd been charged or convicted of federal crimes. One of those was Ross Ulbricht, a young man serving a double life sentence for creating an online criminal marketplace called Silk Road, where users traded guns and drugs. Who is Ross Ulbricht? What does his pardoning tell us about where power really lies in the American justice system? Hear the full story on True Crime Reports.
So, Hani, it's hard to talk about this story without talking about what it's like for you personally to cover it. This week, 250 news outlets in more than 70 countries use their front pages to spotlight the journalists who've been killed by Israel in Gaza. Al Jazeera has compiled a list of each of these individuals' names. I've heard your frustration already. Your anger is palpable, and those of us on this side of the pond feel it as well. Do you have a message for your colleagues outside of Gaza?
The message would be, even though it's too late, you really didn't have to wait that long to start talking about Gaza, to start talking about the journalists who have been killed in the past 22 months. But still, there is hope that you can join the crowd that is amplifying Palestinian voices, particularly journalists here. They are in their comfort zone, in their offices, whether inside in Tel Aviv, Jerusalem, and other capitals around the world. They need to raise their voice. Otherwise, I don't know what's the point of being a journalist if you're not addressing these key issues. To be honest with you, I don't know what they're doing if they're not doing this.
Well, Hani, we've lost so many colleagues trying to do what you're doing right now, show the world what's happening in Gaza. In a live broadcast on Al Jazeera Arabic, we just saw our colleague, Noor Abu Rukba, reporting from Gaza City. And she begins to break down when she talks about how her mother is sitting on the sidewalk without knowing where to go. Noor is now reporting on stories that our colleagues like Anas al-Sharif would have been reporting on before they were killed. So for you, Hani, what drives you to keep showing up on camera, to keep doing the work that you're doing?
It's people. Seeing people out in the street, seeing exhausted families, seeing children barefoot running in the street with no future whatsoever for them. That's what drives us and gives us the energy to keep going, because their stories deserve to be told to the world. And because we want to tell them this is not a natural cause. It's a man-made. It's predictable to be happening this way. It's preventable as well at the same time. Stop the causes of this and people will start reconstructing their life. Even at this point, the trauma level is so high and it might take generations just to help people reset their lives. But the motivation is always people here. We don't want to repeat what happened in 1948, where most of the stories were lost, where most of the narrative was controlled by Israeli historians. It's time for Palestinians to control their narrative. We're doing it for the people. We're doing it for the crying fathers, the collapsed mothers, the lost childhood. We're doing it for them because in a few years from now, they are the ones who are going to be telling the stories. Without this, ethnic cleansing will happen and nobody will know about it.
Well, Hani, your work is not in vain. I saw you on Al Jazeera just on Sunday.
Journalists on the ground here across the Gaza Strip are the one who are telling the stories, the one who are bringing to the world what's going on.
You were talking to participants at an event that I was covering, the People's Conference for Palestine in Detroit, Michigan, here in the U.S. And it was incredible to be there and to feel the sadness and the weight of this genocide, but also to see so much love for you and for other journalists from Gaza who are telling this story, and for the people of Gaza who are living this but are not alone. It's not the only sign of solidarity, though. We know that more than 50 boats are sailing for Gaza right now as part of the global Samud flotilla. So what do these movements mean to you now after almost 2 years?
It means a lot to me because there is a good message behind it, and it's done in good faith, and it's done in all what the world aspires for. There is what should be a universal slogan now. Peace should dominate the atmosphere at this point. Enough killing, enough destruction, enough devastation, enough lost futures. Walking in the streets here and seeing many schools destroyed, that automatically translates in my head how many students lost their future and their right to learning inside these schools. Walking by hospitals completely destroyed, thinking of how many vulnerable individuals do not have the proper access to healthcare in order to build a proper life in the future. But the bottom of it, it's all interconnected. The reality of Gaza is much more complicated than just a man sitting in the White House and thinks, well, let me draw a plan for you.
Well, final question, Hani. When this interview is over, can you describe for us what it's going to take for you to get back to where you're living? What happens after this?
Well, by the time we finish this interview, it's going to be a little bit late. So we have to check when it comes to security assessment. The locations are okay. The routes that we're taking are fine. Is it safe to move the vehicle? We need to look at some headlines, see what areas have been bombed or what areas that are going to be bombed, so avoid driving. And we do this on a daily basis. Every time we have field work assigned, it involves doing and looking at these things in order to avoid risking our lives. I mean, we're doing it, and it's only 1 or 2%, because the other 99, 98% is the danger, and the rest that we are taking. And we do it in just, you know what? I need to get home. I need to be with my family. So if that's the risk that I'm taking, it's worth it. So I can see my mom, I can see my dad, I can be with my family. You never know, it might be the last time. But that's always on our head. Every step you're taking, it might be the last one. You might not finish your report. We've seen examples just in the past 30 minutes. A journalist who just finished field work and was killed right after that. So that's how it is.
Oh, no. I'm so sorry to hear that. Hani Mahmoud, thank you so much for this interview, for your analysis, and for the work that you have been doing this whole time. We really appreciate it.
Thank you. I appreciate it. And thanks for the time you've given me to explain myself. Thank you.
Before we go, a special thanks to the team in Gaza City that helped make this episode possible.
All right, you guys, I'm gonna show you the team behind the scene, all right? Because they deserve to be recognized. Taya Khalid.
Faisal.
So,
Salam everyone, how are you? Samina.
Muaz is my producer.
Hello guys, how are you?
And that's the team. And here is Khalid is our cameraman. He's behind all of this great work. Yeah.
Yalla. Yalla.
And here's our amazing drivers taking the rest, doing all the assessment on the ground to drive us around. Thank you. Thank you.
And that's The Take. This episode was a heavy one, and we want to know how it's resonating with you. What stood out for you during my conversation with Hani? And what do you want to hear about Gaza next? Your feedback helps shape future episodes, so we really want to hear from you. Let us know in the comments below. Until then, we'll see you tomorrow.